Free Time Mastermind podcast. I am here with inventor Bob Lobbe, and he is the designer, inventor of the ultimate drink coaster. He's also an avid golfer. We're going to get into that. He is coming in from a beautiful, undisclosed location here in Florida, like myself. You should have saw the view. I got to see some of his view when he first came on. A beautiful, beautiful area. It's a great time of year to be in Florida. Bob, how you doing on this beautiful morning?
Robert, I'm just doing wonderful, and I thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate it. I love inventors. I love talking about the process, getting into intellectual property. You're coming at this from a great perspective as an engineer, and I'm sure, as I've read too, your thought process, of course, is very quantitative. You have that same approach towards golf. Would that be fair to say?
I think that's right on. I think very quantitatively about most things.
What do you think for, because we've had some inventors on, Doug Katz, the inventor of Nulu knife, a really incredible knife for, I think it's just a great knife in general, but for people with sometimes disabilities, really resonate with that type of knife because of the way that it's the most unique knife I've ever seen in my life. But what would you say to someone out there that has an idea and they're not sure where to begin? What do you think the first thing they should do is?
Well, if you have an idea, I think the thing that with my coaster, I started making sketches. I think if you have something in your head, you got to get it on paper. Whether it's the first cut is good or bad, you're starting to develop the plan of the idea. So whatever is up here has to get on paper so you can start the modifications. That's the thing I would tell anybody that has an idea, regardless of whether you can get the thing on paper the way you want it ultimately. If you get something on paper, then you can continue to make the mutations to get it where you want it to be. So that would be my recommendation. Just get it on paper.
And because of your background as an engineer, something that people don't have a grasp on, particularly people with their first invention, is the material science. And one of these days I'm going to have a material scientist on because that is very relevant because you're thinking about what does this material needs to be made out of? It needs to be light, it needs to be durable. So you think about the functionality, and I could tell by looking at the ultimate coaster, I zoomed in on it, and I've bought some pretty fancy coasters in my time, but when I saw the design, I could tell the level of thought that went into it because I could see the dispersion of the how it disperses the water, and I just thought that was brilliant. So, how many prototypes did you go through before you landed on that perfect design?
Well, that was surprisingly the idea got on paper. I had the idea, I put it on paper in October of 2024. I was still involved with my air pollution control company, so I had my chief engineer put it on AutoCAD, and then he sent it back to me, and then I made mutations to it and adjustments to it, and then I sent it back to him, and we had several iterations of that before we got to the one that I liked, okay, and the one that I delivered to the patent lawyer, okay.
Well,
So that
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's how kind of it evolved. And of course, by the time I got it to the patent lawyer, of course, we had to search to see if it was infringing on anybody's patent. And we did the patent search. And so we went through the progression of you got to make sure your product is not infringing on somebody else's product. And we did that. And then we got it patent pending and so forth.
Well, this wasn't your first rodeo because you've successfully exited three other companies
Right.
that you were involved in. So this you came into this with an immense amount of experience. But even with that said, I'm sure there's probably something you might have done differently. Is there anything that if you could go back in a time capsule to that moment that you came up with the idea, is there anything through the process you'd do differently?
Well, because in the three air pollutions control companies that I started, developed, and sold, I had patented components in those air pollution systems and equipment. So it was pretty easy for me to go through the steps of taking a idea to paper to iterations of design changes, and then because that's pretty standard stuff for me, and so I didn't do anything differently than I normally do. But the coaster had to be done because it's been a pet peeve of my entire life, and I just never had time to get around to
I love that.
it.
Inventions are usually, sometimes entire business concepts are built on a problem somebody experiences and then they develop either a product or service or sometimes an entire company around that solution. I had a lady on that's an expat coach, so she helps people move from whatever country they're coming from to another country.
uh,
And she first went through that journey herself, and then she thought, after all the pain of going it alone, and she said, "I'm going to systematize this." So I think that's really a big key about the monetization, and I think that's why engineers make such great entrepreneurs because you systematize things, whereas the artist, which I worked with a lot of musicians and visual artists and painters in the past, brilliant people that possess these magical skills that I'll never have.
understand.
But they don't build systems. I'm a systems builder, so they can't. They seem to artists, as you know, as we all know, they really struggle to monetize, but they're not system thinkers. Would you agree that that's probably the
I
kind
think
of
that's
the
true.
issue there?
I think we're good Lego players, and I think we're good 3D printers.
That's a great way to think about it. And when
Yeah.
you think about solving a problem, obviously the sketch happens first. But what about mastermind groups? You have some peers you talk to. Do you have people that you say, "Hey, I've got this crazy idea"? Do you have people you trust that you can softball things with?
I do. My chief engineer, my chief designer, they've been friends of mine my entire life, and I've been in the air pollution control business for 55 years now. So I say that I retired at the end of 23, but I still dabble in it a little bit with just if people call my friends call me and say, "Hey, I got this problem. What do you think?" We just kick it around a little bit, and it keeps my head from getting too fuzzy.
Well, I don't think that industry is going to go away anytime soon. And do you think, now this is a completely off the cuff question that I just thought about, but I am interested to know your opinion. Do you think that's going to be a growth market in developing countries? Because, of course, during some of these other countries' industrializations, like China, for instance, they weren't necessarily concerned about pollution in the air, that has changed. So, do you think there's still a really big growth market in that industry, particularly in these developing nations?
Oh, absolutely. China has put a lot of, they built like 85 coal-fired boiler plants
God almighty. Good God
last
almighty.
year,
In a year.
and in a year. I mean, that it's incredible what they're doing because they try and they've done a creditable job, but not the job that the United States has done in the development of clean coal. We've done a magnificent job, and one of the things I would love, I personally believe that a country's wealth is built on the basis of them using their natural resources effectively. We've got a great coal sources, both low sulfur coal, high sulfur coal, hard coal, soft coal. We got it all. And I think if we don't use our natural resource and use the engineering skills and the research and development to optimize the use of it, so we
Oh, Bob, I lost you for a second there. I don't know if they can hear you, but I would just add to that. That's
difficult. It's such a small portion of the total need. It's almost irrelevant.
Well, I would agree with you as a guy from born and raised in Kentucky, which, that's King Coal territory over there. And I think matter of fact, Louisville Gas and Electric (LG&E) did a lot of things years ago to make their power plants a lot more efficient, and of course, there's continuing interest in that. So I think that's a great idea, and I even think about restaurants how they'll use the local foods, what's available in the local area. There's even an approach now where you don't need to eat strawberries in the middle of the winter. So sometimes restaurants will use whatever is growing and is in season in that area at the time, and that's a lot less energy intense. Uh, And Bob, I don't know if you can hear me. Your screen is frozen up again. I'll give a couple seconds for that to get back. All right, I'm going to check the chat. Uh-oh, he's dropped off, so I'll try to get him back. Thank you everyone for your patience. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. When I get him back in, we can get those questions answered. I'll give him just a minute. So while we're waiting for Bob to rejoin the meeting, I wanted to let you know that Bob Lobbe is also an author. We were going to get into some of his journey as a golfer. I'm quite certain that's why he's coming in today from Florida. I guarantee you he's in an area where the golfing is very, very good. He wrote a book called Putting by the Numbers, a quantitative method of lag putting. I had to Google lag putting. I had no idea. I'm not a golfer. I have no idea what that is. But for you golfers, you know automatically. But for those of you like me that didn't know what it was, lag putting is when you're training like a really long putt. Sometimes it takes several putts to get into the hole. So lag putting is the art of making that first, once you're on the green, making that first shot get as close to the hole as possible. So what's interesting about Bob Lobbe is he's taken that engineer mind that he has and he's applied it to the art and practice of golfing. So I wanted to get into that a little bit while we wait for him to come back in. And we were going to talk more about his device. So when I say he's got the ultimate drink coaster, it is amazing. And let me give you that. I heard some noise there. I didn't know if he came back or not. But the ultimate drink coaster is the most involved I've ever seen. And the great thing about it is you can also brand under it. So you can put, football team labels or, so if you're a University of Kentucky Wildcat fan or you're Louisville Cardinal fan, he can custom print those. I was going to ask him about the use of that for corporate gifts. And despite how fancy the drink coasters are, and they are the most engineered I've ever seen, and definitely clearly do the job based on their design. They're really not that expensive. That was the biggest surprise when I was doing research for Bob Lobbe. So hopefully he'll hear this and come back in. There we go. Okay, he's back. Thanks everybody for for hanging with us. I appreciate that. Bob's coming back in. He's joining back up. But yeah, we'll get into all of that. I'm going to ask him a little bit more about the intellectual properties, and he's got a great origin story for what actually happened that made him want to do this coaster. So I see he's coming into the chat. So thank you everybody for holding on. If you have a question for Bob Lobbe, drop it into the chat. And again, to go over the title of his book, it's called
Video.
Oh, there we go. I can hear you, Bob. I can't see you just yet. Yeah, but
I,
I can hear you, Bob, but I can't see you. There you go. All right, I see you. And nobody left. We still have people watching. So I greatly appreciate that. They're still here. I'm waiting to see if they have any questions for you. But thanks for coming back.
yeah, I don't know what happened, but I just lost you, and I've been trying to get you back, and
That's all
here I
right.
am, and I see you now.
I've been chatting up the audience, keeping them warm for you. I was telling them about your book because I wanted to
Oh,
read
is
to
it?
them some information. Now, true or false, you picked the area where you are in Florida right now, mainly because there's some really good courses. True or false?
That's pretty true.
That's what
Pretty
that's what
true.
I figured.
Pretty
That's what
true.
I figured. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
there's some great
Yeah.
stuff to do over there on he's on the Gulf Coast. I won't reveal his location, but he's on the Gulf Coast where it's a beautiful, beautiful
Right.
area.
Right.
Now tell us, if
Yeah.
you don't mind, you did say that the coaster was designed to solve a problem that's frustrated you for a very long time. You've got a great origin story. Can you tell us about what happened with the coaster in that social environment that made you go, you know what, I'm gonna fix this.
Yeah, I would be happy to explain that because that's the whole reason I invented the coaster. I was sitting at my daughter's home in Decatur, Georgia, back in October of 2023, and we were getting ready to go out to a very nice restaurant. So we all were dressed up to our nines, and I see you're pausing again. I hope you can hear me.
Oh, I can hear
But
you. Go ahead.
anyway,
Hit us.
if okay, go ahead. But anyway, so we're having a cocktail and just talking before we go out to the restaurant. And my daughter had one of those leather coasters, and I put my cocktail drink on it, and we were just talking. I took a sip, and as I picked it up, the leather coaster stuck to the bottom of my cocktail glass, and it fell on my silk tie, my favorite silk tie, by the way. And it all the condensate went on it, and then it fell on my suit coat, on my pants, and then onto the cocktail table and the floor on the carpet. So we got condensate on everything, but it ruined my tie, and I couldn't. Even when I tried to dry clean the tie, it didn't get the stain out. So I said to my daughter when all that happened, I said, this has been a problem my whole life. It's been a pet peeve my whole, but I've been too busy. But I'm going to engineer a coaster that really works and does the job it's intended to do. And that's what I did.
Well, Bob, I was interested
So
to
that's
know
kind of how it all got started.
when you started doing those prototypes, are we talking maybe 3D printing first, injection molding? There's so many different ways you can spin up a prototype. What was your thinking on that?
Well, as you say, we of course did the various uh, AutoCAD drawings, and then we did 3D AutoCAD drawings, and we did iterations of those. Then of course we went to the patent lawyer to be sure that what had invented was not infringing on anybody else's patent, and we found out it was not. So then we got it patent. So that after we got the patent pending, then we went into the process of developing prototypes, which we did with 3D printing. First, 3D printing is just wonderful to start out a product. Okay, we knew ultimately that we were going to die cast this product with some material. So we got the 3D printed product in what we called the gold standard before we handed it over to the die cast manufacturer and said, okay, this is what we want to die cast. And then we proceeded to do all U.S. manufacturing potentials and all Asian manufacturing potentials. And of course, Asia was very, very competitive. So for the first 6 months of operation, we found an Asian manufacturer that built like 20,000 units for us. And then we brought these back over and showed the final product to some manufacturers here in the United States we previously had entertained. And they said, oh, yeah, we can do that. And so now we have both. We have a U.S. manufacturer and an Asian manufacturer for the
Wow.
total market.
I love it.
And so, it has worked out just fantastically. And uh, yeah, we we have we're trying to go to all different types of markets now. We're with the promotional markets, promotional companies. We're with 4-H. We're with NRA. We're with political, on and on. Sports uh, complexes,
Yeah,
and we've been to several trade shows.
you're hitting
And
up
so
my
we've
you're
had a
hit.
lot.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We've had a lot of fun with the product.
Well, that was one of the things that surprised me about the design. I don't know if it's proprietary or if you can share it on camera, but the way yours is designed, and people are going to have to just go to the site to see this, but I was curious, how in the world do you get the designs onto that? But is there two pieces and then you could put the promotional material in? Because that was the most impressive. Well, I'd say the two things are most impressive is that you found a way to customize it, and the coasters aren't that expensive. That was really shocking, especially since you've got some manufacturing going on in the U.S. So, first of all, can you reveal a little bit about
Right.
how you're able to print those logos on there?
Yeah, well, what we did, we ended up buying a commercial quality UV printer, so we can permanently print any logo on the coaster that we want, both on the inside pan and on the bottom of things. So we've done that with golf courses. Lake Valley Golf Course, for example, bought 1,000 coasters from us for a tournament, his and her tournament, and they had their Lake Valley logo printed on the inside pan on the back. And we've done that with a number of golf courses over the last year. And so that UV printer, with the fact that this coaster is also recyclable and it's not biodegradable, but we're working on that right now. Uh, you can put this in the dishwasher. It takes up to temperatures up to 210 degrees Fahrenheit. It's made out of ABS plastic. So the product that we're making it out, we can either make it out of polypropylene or ABS plastic, but I'm looking at some biodegradable possibilities that we can go on with recyclability too. And so, but the problem with doing with both is the cost of the product would increase. And so we got to do some market testing and see if that's going to work.
Right, right. I was thinking, of course, that I'm sure it's very expensive, but bamboo can be flattened. I use a bamboo cutting board because of the durability and the sustainability of it. And of course, that would be something that would be drilled out by a CNC machine. So you'd have presumably a bamboo blank, and then because the secret of your coaster is that fantastic design. So that would be interesting to see. I don't know if that meets
Well,
with your guys' standards or not.
well, Robert, you hit the nail on the head. I'm looking at bamboo.
Well, I am the guy that wrote the book about business ideas, by the way. That's my so ideas are my thing. I'm not the execution guy, and I've said this on camera before, Bob. I admit the things that I'm not good at. I'm not the guy you want 3 years on a project. I come in, I can help you for about 6 weeks, and then I want to go on to the next because I like putting out fires. I like running into burning buildings, putting them out, and then going to the next. That's why the disaster business
Well,
was so good. But yeah, I'd love to when you do if you launch that or when you launch that second iteration, Bob. I want you to come back on, have that. And do you have any of those coasters? I know you're not in your normal state that you're in, but do you have any coasters around you now that you can hold up on camera so people can see? I mean, we're going
well,
to direct them
if
to
you
the
would,
site.
if you would give me 5 seconds, I'll get one.
Yes,
I
of
I
course.
I moved outside here. If it's inside, at my desk. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Bob. If anybody has any questions, you can ask questions in the chat for Bob, and he's going to show us a product sample. And like I said, they're very affordable. I just and the fact that he's doing some of the manufacturing in the U.S. is fantastic. I do have some follow-up questions too for him once he gets back. Yeah, don't be shy
Here
in
it
the
is,
chat.
right here.
Oh, fantastic. And
This is the coaster. I don't know if you see
yes, the ridges are really what
this
sells
coaster.
it.
Yeah, the basic engineering design, and this is truly an engineered coaster. And by the way, this is the only drink coaster in the world that really works. Okay, you can look at it all, but this one is really engineered because all these crossbars, in between each crossbar, there's a 1 millimeter semicircle, which creates the capillary action that when you have the condensate coming down the top and by the outside glass, it hits these vertical and horizontal bars. And in between each bar is a capillary semicircle. And that what we do, we capture the condensate, we convey the condensate into the capillaries, and we collect the condensate, contain condensate in tank. So we capture, convey, and in a
Fantastic.
perfect situation, you lift your glass up from this and then never sticks. Your glass never sticks to this. And then you can throw this in the dishwasher at the end of the evening and, or just dump condensate and just throw it in the dishwasher, you're good to go.
And I could tell from the design that it really looked like it was designed to minimize contact with the bottom of the glass and just to pull the water off mainly. And then, of course, you've got those large channels, which is great for the evaporation. I lost your video for a second there, but we did catch the last bit of that. My question for you, Bob, is when you came up with this
Yeah.
idea, what was the big did you want this in Walmart? Were you thinking Amazon, big box stores, or you were like, I'm going to sell these individually so you can have the highest return on your investment? What were you thinking as far as distribution?
Well, that's something I've lived in the industrial world all my life in air pollution control. So I'm kind of a novice when it comes to commercial product and uh, B2B, B2C. This kind of stuff was nuanced to me. So we had to I was walking in the dark a little bit, but we on, on Amazon Prime. And it's
Uh-oh, we lost you again, Bob. So anyway, what I was saying about the design of the coaster, and I know the audience were able to see a little bit of that there. If anybody has any questions, you can drop them in the chat. But the design, you could tell the bottom of the glass does not stick to the coaster because there's a very minimal contact. So it's almost like the glass rides on these thin wires, and that allows the bottom of the coaster to be maximized in size. And you saw it when he held it up. It's a pretty beefy looking coaster. Bob, are you back with us? Uh-oh. Your I cannot hear you for some reason. Yeah, it shows that you're on mute. Um, and I don't know. I'm sure that's something you need to do on your end, maybe with the phone. And I don't know if you're
Yeah, I got it now. Yeah.
okay, good. And I don't know if you're connected. I was going to ask you this earlier, Bob. I don't know if you're connected to the house's Wi-Fi, but I know your signal would be a lot stronger if you're connected to the house's Wi-Fi. If there's a local Wi-Fi in the house. I'm way out in a remote area, so
Yeah,
I have. Go ahead.
I'm supposed to be connected to this condominium Wi-Fi. Yeah, and
Somebody must somebody must be using.
can you hear me?
I can, but it's pretty rough. I don't know if somebody in the condo is downloading a bunch of movies or something, but they're definitely pulling from your bandwidth. Your videos is
Yeah.
completely frozen. Oh, I lost you again. So what I was going to ask him is because there are a lot of coasters out there. Let's face it. I've purchased coasters before. I've got a coaster running joke with a friend of mine in Texas because I went to their house and I set a sweaty drink down on some of their furniture and
Yeah.
I didn't really. Oh, okay, you're back with us, Bob. All
I'm
right.
back.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm just.
I did a podcast the other day in the same position, worked out well. I don't know what's going on here today, but I apologize for
Oh no,
the inconvenience.
no, you're fine. You're fine. I never let a moment go dull. That's what's the beauty of doing so much research before a podcast. But no, I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming back. And what I wanted to ask you, obviously, the function of the coaster is far superior to everything else out there. But in your marketing, is there anything else other than that? Because it is a good looking, it has to be not just functional, but there's form and function for people that don't know. There's how it looks and what it does, and how much was form and design built in to make it an attractive thing to buy.
Well, that's we
Oh, Bob, we've lost video and
but
audio. I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. The video is frozen. Bob, I apologize. We're still having some connection issues. If anybody has any questions, put them in the chat. I can direct them to Bob Lobbe. There's going to be links for his drink coaster in the description, and we'll bring him back when he does the bamboo or the sustainable version. I think that's going to be really exciting. That's going to be manufactured in a completely different way. We'll get into that next time we have him on. We're going to get more into the intellectual properties, how he protected that. And again, if you have any questions, thank you so much to the viewers and the subscribers. There was a vast number of viewers, so thank you so much for that. And we'll see you all again soon. Bob, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you for coming back. I'll keep the Zoom going for you and I, but I'm dropping the